Westmont faculty. This is another video about Zoom, and I think I'd like to walk you through how to host a meeting. So we've done the tutorial on creating a meeting, and here's a meeting that I've created. And it's time to have this meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this button up here, start this meeting. And when we press that, it's going to prompt our browser to open zoom.us, and you're going to press allow there. Zoom is going to download and open. And I don't have a webcam on this computer, but this button, you'd be able to test the speaker, microphone, and webcam to ensure that it's all working. Let's go ahead and join with computer audio. So here's our meeting, and there are no participants in it but me, so I'm the host here. Down at the bottom here, this is your basic control panel. A lot of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to walk you through it. This button here, this is your own microphone. If you need to mute it for whatever reason in the middle of a live class, just click it once and you'll be muted until you unclick it, and it does notify you. So if you see this and you're talking, you may want to unmute your microphone. And then, yeah, if you have a webcam and you'd like people to see your face, you can have the video option there. Next is invite. This is going to give you everybody on Westmont campus, so it's not going to be it's not going to be the easiest thing to use. Really, the invitation that you create, and if you go back to your meetings in the browser, you should be able to see that invitation URL. That's going to be the most reliable way to get your students into your meeting. Now over here, this Manage Participants button brings up a side panel over here, and it shows everybody who's in this meeting. And it also shows you your role as well. So I'm the host of this meeting, and it's going to show me that. As your students join, you should be able to see their names because they'll be authenticating using their Westmont credentials as well. There are some helpful controls in this panel that I'd like to draw your attention towards. First, there's mute all. In the case that people are joining and their audio is not muted and it just starts to be sort of chaotic, you can press the mute all button, and you can specify whether they're allowed to unmute themselves. So that's another feature there. So current and new participants will be muted. And when you're ready to take that off, you can unmute all. In this More category, you have mute participants on entry, and you'll recognize in the previous video we did, you can specify this setting when you create the meeting in the first place. But if you change your mind, you can always select it here. This is allowing participants to unmute themselves. Again, that's part of that muting button there. And then this play, enter, and exit chime. If a student joins the meeting late or something, this will play a chime, and that could be disruptive. Or if people are leaving for some reason, again, it's just an audible disruption. You can turn this off, or if you'd prefer to have it on to know when people are leaving and joining, you can leave that there as well. This I would probably keep off, actually. Allow participants to rename themselves. I think in most circumstances you'd be okay with just having that be their name. I can see sort of a case for being able to rename them if you're putting them into groups and having them work with each other. But other than that, I'd probably turn this off. And finally, this lock meeting. If you're wanting no more participants to be able to join or leave, you can lock the meeting. And then there can be no sort of in and out of the meeting after that. So that's the basic participants channel here. I'm going to come back to this share screen option in a second, but we're going to go to the chat. And I think for most of you professors, if you have large class sizes and there's a lot of people in your meeting, instead of people sort of popcorn style talking using Zoom, that can kind of get pretty chaotic pretty quickly, I'd reckon. So unless you're calling on people and then making sure that everyone else is sort of quiet during that time, the chat would be a great way to get your class to interact with you. So you can type a message here, and that goes out to everybody. Um, and they can send messages back. In this drop down here, you can specify who the participants can chat with. So they can chat with you only, or everybody publicly. So that would be showing up in this chat feed, or everybody publicly and privately. So if the students, if you're lecturing and someone misses something, they would be able to privately message one another and say, did you get that last part? I think I missed that. So that would be only on this setting here. Of course, if you want no chat, you can select no one as well. So that's the chat feature. Um, it should be known that after your meeting is over, you can look at this chat retroactively. So you can look at the chat if you're asking for answers or something like that, some feedback to questions that you're posing. You can look back and review those after the fact. Um, and then let's take a look at the share screen option. This would be really ideal if you've got a PowerPoint slide open. You can share your screen and it'll actually appear here. It shows you all the applications that you have open. So these are Zoom proprietary type stuff. But like for instance here, this is Safari. So if I select my Safari window, I'm going to be broadcasting this to the class. And you can see that this green border shows that Safari is currently being recorded. And when I'm ready, I press that button, and once I'm done, you can press stop share up here. Also, if you sort of go up near the top of the page, you can still get your control panel here. Um, and so once we're done, let's hit stop share, and it takes us right back to our meeting. Um, that's sort of the basics of the meeting. So let's say you're done. You can end the meeting for everybody, or you can leave the meeting yourself and allow them to stay in for the rest of the duration. Um, but once you've clicked this, that's it. If you have any questions about Zoom, creating meetings and hosting them, just email support@westmont.edu. Thanks very much.